Markets surged today on news of a ceasefire in the U.S.-China trade war. It was brokered at this weekend's G20 summit during a meeting between President Trump and President Xi Jinping of China. The two announced a truce while negotiations continue. President Trump agreed to delay increasing tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods. In return, the White House says China agreed to purchase a, quote, substantial amount of American agriculture, energy, and industrial products. The two countries have also agreed to look into intellectual property and cyber theft issues. Additionally, President Trump tweeted that China agreed to, quote, reduce and remove tariffs on U.S.-made cars entering China. The Chinese government, however, has yet to confirm such a deal has been reached. Joining me now with more on this is Politico trade reporter Sabrina Rodriguez. Sabrina, great to see you. Thanks for being with us. Now, this agreement sets a 90-day clock on the U.S. and China to work out a more permanent deal. So what exactly have they agreed upon, and what still needs to be ironed out?
Well, the meeting went much better than expected. First, thank you so much for having me. But the meeting was highly anticipated. I mean, for weeks there's been discussion of, will this dinner result in some kind of substantive deal, or will it just lead to them agreeing to continue talking? So the outcome was much better than a lot of people expected. But really what we have now is, okay, 90 days to get into the talks of really difficult divisions between the U.S. and China. I mean, the changes that the U.S. would like to see made in China are going to take years in terms of intellectual property practices, in terms of technology transfers, the way that the economy works there, in terms of them being not market economy. So it's really a start to these talks, but a lot of people are starting to think, okay, well, Trump might be settling with accepting all these purchases that China will be making. So China, the biggest announcement that they made was that they would be willing to purchase a substantively large amount of products. Steven Mnuchin yesterday, the Treasury Secretary, said in an interview with New York Times that it would be much more than $70 billion, but there aren't specifics yet on when this will happen and exactly how much it'll be.
And so, Sabrina, which industries in each country benefit from this temporary deal?
Well, major business groups on both sides, in the U.S. and in China, are definitely kind of having a sigh of relief at this moment. I mean, every major business group, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Farmers for Free Trade, major groups on both sides have said, you know, this definitely removes a little bit of uncertainty and shows, okay, goodwill on both sides to negotiate, but there's definitely still a lot of uncertainty lingering, because once the 90 days expires, it'll be a question of, I mean, how much were they able to negotiate? And
then going into these next 3 months of negotiations, who really has the upper hand here, do you think, Sabrina?
Well, it's difficult to tell. I would say on both sides, they think they do have some kind of leverage. China, I mean, there's no prospect of elections there. So for the president, it's not so much about being reelected. It's more pleasing business. So as long as he can sell that China is going to continue to have economic growth, he will continue to have support from the party there. Whereas here, Trump, really, with the effect of the tariffs, has to kind of reach some movement, and the purchases of agricultural products, energy products, will be a huge difference, make a huge difference for his base. Farmers were particularly relieved seeing that there will be more purchases of soybeans, for example.
Right. Yes, here in the U.S., President Trump has to answer to a far greater chorus of voices than the president of China. So what will happen if these two countries can't work out a deal in time? There is a timeline here.
Well, if they can't reach something in the next 90 days, the White House has already said that it will not have an issue with raising the tariffs, which was one of the biggest concerns that industries have had here in the U.S. So they would raise the tariffs that they have already on China. So right now, regardless of this ceasefire, or truce as we're calling it, there's still $250 billion worth of Chinese goods that are facing tariffs, and they continue to face them, but $200 billion will not raise to 25% tariffs. That will happen, though, after the 90 days.
All right. Well, Politico trade reporter Sabrina Rodriguez. Sabrina, thank you.
Thank you.